Hey guys, Freddy here. Welcome back to another Retro Adventures. Because at the end of another week, the end of another poll, you've only gone and done it again. It's a ruddy tie. And if you look at the chart up here, you will see that the third place is also only one vote behind. It was almost a three-way tie. Come on guys, play fair. I love all of these when actually put into adventures. I really want to cover everything I put up in a poll. I'm excited by them all, but I farm that out to you to make the final decision. And you're not playing fair, you're not just choosing one thing. But anyway, you've beat me this time. So today I will be doing Warlords of the Desert for MERP, and tomorrow I'll be doing The Man with the Golden Gun for James Bond 007 RPG. So you're going to be getting a twofer this week. And this is going to be a PDF review, so we'll be going over to the computer desktop in a wee second. And at the end of the video I'll be back as usual with other channel related stuff and other poll related stuff. But before I do that, I've got to ask you to do the YouTube stuff. Please like, subscribe and comment below. Give me more suggestions. Stack it up. Let's have a massive list of stuff that I'll keep putting in the polls. And lots of that has been your suggestions of great RPGs, great supplements, great adventures to go over and cover on the channel. We'll stick them in the polls and you can make your final decisions on what new stuff I should cover. That'll be quite exciting. I'd also like to ask you to consider becoming a Patreon. Patrons are the absolute lifeblood of the channel, so I'd like to thank them from the absolute bottom of my heart. But I've got to ask you that if you'd like to help support the channel, or you'd like to see these videos a week early, or you'd like to see one of the Patreon exclusive videos we put up over there, then check out the Patreon. It's in the description down below somewhere. Having a look at it would be very much appreciated. But anyway, let's get on and have a look at Warlords of the Desert.
So this is Warlords of the Desert, which came out for MERP, Middle-earth Roleplay and Rolemaster from Iron Crown Enterprises, ICE, in 1989. And much like the adventure module we covered for MERP a few months ago, Brigands of Mirkwood, this is part setting and part adventures. But where I was very disappointed with Brigands of Mirkwood because it was about 50% setting, with just the adventures put in very much as an afterthought. This is more biased towards a smaller setting and bigger adventures. I believe it's like 13 pages is background, and the rest is adventures out of its 44 pages. So there's a lot more adventure in here, which is good. That's what I'm looking for out of an adventure module. I'm not looking for it to be just a setting. Now, the adventures in it do seem very, very dated in their format. Now, I know this is 1989, so everything is dated. It's, decades and decades ago. But I have to say that things which were coming out around this time, Shadowrun, for example, were giving very detailed adventures with fantastic plot lines, whereas the adventures in this are very much, here's a location you're going to explore. You have a general overwhelming thing to do in that area. You're going in to rescue somebody or find something or whatever. But they are just a bunch of locations. You're going to be exploring a map. It feels like an old dungeon crawl, something from the late 70s. It feels like a decade out of date. But it is giving you some wonderful places which you can reuse. It's giving you palaces and buildings and things which populate out your world. So for that, it's a lot of value. Now, going to the back cover. Warlords of the Desert visit the great cosmopolitan port called the Dar, the jewel of Far Harad in the Seret Cavonia. The festival quarter, traders and rogues from dozens of lands jostle shoulders amidst the revelry. In the seller's courts, spices and silk vie with ivory and animal pelts from Mumakan for the bargainer's eye. Anything can be bought for a price. And on the Catedral, the hill where the mansions of the wealthy stand beneath lush palms, dark schemes and political intrigue seethe amongst the nobility. Within one ornate palace lurks the evidence of the Nazgul's plan to seize the city. An adventure module suitable for Middle-earth roleplay and Rolemaster, adaptable to Fantasy Hero and most major fantasy role-playing games. It features 2 Fulica maps, including a regional map and the map of the city of Bozisha-Dar. 3 exciting adventures: confrontation with thieves in the tangled streets of Bozisha-Dar, a rescue attempt in Bandits of the Eastern Hills, and political intrigue in Southern Hospitality. Detailed layouts of the adventure locations, statistics for Far Harad warriors, NPCs, beasts, and monsters. Iron Crown Enterprises holds the exclusive worldwide license for fantasy role-playing games and adult board games based on J.R.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. Or they did at the time. Based on The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings, this supplement is set in Far Harad's principal seaport, a city teeming with exotic travelers from the caravan routes. In the bustling streets of Bozisha-Dar, foreigners suffer at the hands of pickpockets, swindlers, and servants of the Dark Lord. This module features 3 complete adventures. All are self-contained and can be easily used in other locales. Warlords also links with ICE's Far Harad campaign module. Now, normally I would offer a warning that you can't watch any further, but we can, because we can delve into covering the setting here before we go into spoiler territory for the adventures. So inside, we've got a nice color map of the region, and the maps are definitely brilliant. I'm hugely impressed by the quality of the ones that MERP have been turning out. And from my time when it came out and I was going around to a friend's house who had the MERP box set, I do remember it being the maps and diagrams which impressed me so much. We've got a contents page with the credits at the bottom, guidelines how to use it, because obviously you're dealing with a couple of different systems, so there's guidelines how to use it. Basic color area map key showing you what's in different places. And then it starts talking through adventuring in Bozisha-Dar. Talks about the area, the politics. Now, the politics is something which stands out to me here. I really did like the politics of the area because it's a monarchy. There is a king, but the king isn't around. Or rather, was a king. Basically, the control was passed over to regents who ruled in the name of the king. And now there's a panel, council of, I think it's 7 regents, which run things for the king. But there hasn't been a king for hundreds and hundreds of years. So they still have a crown, they still have a throne, but the regents are just running things until the king turns up, or they decide who it is. I like the way that's done. It's a way of moving away from just the being kings and monarchies, moving to a more political thing. So there can be different groups which the players are involved with, politics going on within this ruling council. Without it having become something more modern, it's still a monarchy. I like that a lot. We go through the economy, how it's based on trade, and the hills around it, the deep desert. We've got the culture. It mentions that the country was existing. I think it said it before, that the Sea Lords of Numenor arrived 1,000 years ago and found a strong, though backward nation. But there's lots of names here which I'm not familiar with. I have to admit that I'm not that familiar with all of the segments of Middle-earth. I've seen the movies, I read the books a long time ago. So if all of these things are mentioned, I'm afraid I've long since forgotten them. Mentions the appearance of the people, life and death, attitudes, outlook, families, languages, social classes, role of wealth within it, and then talks through the city, the cathedrala, the mansions of the most influential families, shop districts, municipal quarter, residences, guild halls, caravan grounds, and these are all marked on a map here, and we get a large color map later on. Merchants' quarter, poor quarter, tradesmen's homes, the port, the surrounding lands, the embassy to Far Harad, player characters, and then we go through some NPCs. So the Prince's Ambassador, important Southrons, so the different council members, and then we're getting to the first adventure. Now, before I do that, I'll flip to the back and say, yes, there's a map of the city. It's lovely. I love the colors. It's more than just a diagram. It's well expressed. The colors actually mean what's in different districts, so you can see it without being overly complex and labeled. Lovely, lovely map. I so want to use more of that. Now, this is the point where we're going to be going into spoilers. So anybody who doesn't want spoilers, this is where you turn off. I do like this booklet, but again, it's heavy on the background because even going into the adventures, it's just more background. So we've got the first one, which is the Tangled Streets of Bozisha-Dar. And the players are arriving as travelers. They're accompanying an ambassador who's coming to do trade talks with the city. And the adventure is basically just set up that they have some time to kill. And while they are out exploring the city, they'll get caught up with the Thieves Guild and various events will happen, but they have to deal with them in a way to not cause a diplomatic incident for the person that's hired them as bodyguards. And we've got NPCs, we've got setting, so Tolkien abandoned theatre, the Seller's Court, a tavern, or the ruins above the house below. We've got all these labeled out, giving locations where you're going to go. The Great Oasis. So we're detailing out encounters and things which can happen on the player's day out. In this adventure, the first goal of the PCs will be quite simple. They are bored and want something to do. As day develops, new challenges will arise, and with any luck, they will be trying to simply survive by the time all is finished. In addition to the fun and shopping trip, they will be haggled out of their silver. The adventurers may find occasional brawl or lose their way in the streets. More importantly, they will be faced by the challenge besting Despac's band and returning to the assigned mansion without provoking the anger of Lord Marahil. So that's it. It talks how to get in, what the rewards are, different encounters. There isn't a lot there. It's a big set of random encounters with the kind of plot and politics behind. It could be a load of fun, but it doesn't stand up as an adventure to me. Then we've got the Bandits of Eastern Hills. This is one where the players are going out of the city into the surroundings to rescue a kidnapped victim. So it's going to be a fairly standard dungeon bash. And we look through, we've got the NPCs, the setting, desert sites, we've got a map showing them where they are in relation to the city, the stronghold of the Kindalar, and then we've got the map. And going into that, we've got the stronghold within that map. And then we've got the Bastion, and we've got Selif's Tomb. And they're going to be going in and rescuing the person. The task the PCs will face in this adventure, a mission of some daring. They must save the damsel Farathane from her captors and bring her back to Bozisha-Dar unharmed. This will require a trip across unfamiliar territory at speed, a stealthy raid into a bandit camp, and return across the desert once more. If they achieve these goals, they may have a chance to line their pockets and even meet a new ally or two. And talking about starting them, what aids there are, obstacles, rewards, and different encounters with it. And then we've got the third adventure, Southern Hospitality. Now, this is more politics. We're getting into where the city's being controlled for. And we've got major NPCs, the Palace of the Wood, a very nice drawing of a palace there, different locations within that. And the task, PC's task will be twofold. First order of business must be freeing their leader. In addition to this, they'll need to unravel as much of the Southron's plot as they can, determine how best to use the information they find. Possible impact to this adventure on relations between North and South range from disastrous to quite good. So, they're in there, again, they're exploring, they're adventuring, they're dungeon bashing. Got the how to bring them in, obstacles, rewards, encounters. We've got a beast table showing what animals can be encountered in the city, NPCs for the different adventures, stats, because they don't block them together, they keep the stats and the description separate, which seems a little odd to me. I would expect to have everything in one place. We've got encounter tables, the map I showed before, and then the back cover. It's very, very brief. While the adventures are better than in the Brigands and Mirkwood, they have a lot more interesting stuff going on. They are still very much an afterthought, something to use this location you've been given. And as I said, they feel very, very dated indeed. They feel like 70s dungeon mashes, a lot more primitive than stuff we were seeing in Dungeons and Dragons. Even in the late 70s, it had gone past those. Very, very early stuff indeed, but very reusable.
So that was Warlords of the Desert, and that won the poll this week with 29%, or it tied with The Man with the Golden Gun, also on 29%. Behind them on 28%, only one vote behind, was Shattered Pattern for Earthdawn. And way back behind was Ice Demon for Dark Conspiracy, which came in on 15%. Sad, I would have loved to have covered all of them. Fantastic, fantastic stuff. But as usual, they're all wiped out, and we're going over to a retro RPG poll. And this is all stuff from my collection. It's all stuff that's been in the polls before, but I've made sure it's stuff that hasn't been in for 8 months, years, etc. First up, we've got World Book 15 Spirit West for Rifts, from Palladium Games in 1997. Rifts is always a good time. Great stuff to look through, fantastic artwork. Although I think the rule set could have done with a rewrite, I'm never disappointed by what's in a Rifts book. After that, we've got The Last Crusaders for Deadlands Hell on Earth, which came out from Pinnacle in 1998. I absolutely adore Deadlands Hell on Earth. I'm going to be running an adventure of it fairly soon for my group, but I haven't covered it in ages. I've got a number of the source books still on my shelves, which just never come anywhere in these polls. So consider giving it a vote. Let's have a look through one of these wonderful source books. After that, we've got Arcane Mysteries of Barsave for Earthdawn, which came out from Fazza in 1997. And I've said many times, Earthdawn is one of my favourite fantasy settings. The post-apocalyptic people coming out of the cares and struggling to recapture the world after it's been devastated by horrors. A fantastic setting and very, very different to Tolkien stuff, while basing it on that. I would have loved to cover this. Vote for it, and we shall see if we have a look through it. And finally, we've got Fading Suns D20 from Holistic Design. It came out in 2001. Now, looking through these things, just to make sure I hadn't covered them recently, I discovered that I haven't covered any Fading Suns content on the channel for 5 years. I've got a big thick wad of books, tons and tons to cover, but just not had the opportunity. It's either not one in the polls, or I've just not thought about it, because it tends to not be in one of my bookcases behind me that I'm looking at all the time. It's in my bookcase off to my side, which tends to get a bit ignored. So there's your options. We've got a full RPG, a D21 right from the burst of D20 games, with a fantastic setting, which, as I've said, I covered the main game itself before. And we've got 3 different source books for fantastic RPGs. The choice is in your hands. What else have I been up to? Well, over on rpggamer.org, I have been going through the Star Wars Visions TV series. These are short stories made by animation studios around the world. This series is mainly Japan, and they introduce their own culture, their own flair to Star Wars, and they can be pretty interesting. The first 2 seasons were great, although so far I'm not as impressed with season 3. But if you're interested in seeing my reviews of Visions, seeing out what I think of them, and seeing me stat out the different stuff that they introduce, including some fairly anime stuff that they put in some episodes, which will be very, very different, then come on over to rpggamer.org and check it out. Anyway, as usual, I think I've been wittering on for quite long enough, so thank you very much for watching. As always, most of all, you look after yourselves, and I'll catch you later. Bye now.